The two of us are sitting down just talking about making an audio recording
Right.
of a book that I wrote. My book started out at the turn of the century. Right after my husband died, I started to write a short story about my family, and I finally finished it a couple of years ago, and I had just laid it aside. And my son Brooks decided that we needed to put it in audio form. I didn't really understand what all was involved in it, but he says we'll just sit down and you will read it and I'll record it for you, and then we'll put it on the Internet Archive.
Right.
Well, I'm an amateur. I don't know anything about this new technology. All I know is I had a story, and I wanted the children and the young people in our family to read it. And I was unable to put it into hard copy because I had so many family people to give it to. Well, he convinced me to read it, and I did. I started in December of last year, 2025, and I finally finished it about 3 months ago. And since then, it's just been one good experience after another. I have really enjoyed it. I pick it up, I look at it, I listen to it, and it just absolutely thrills me to think that this is what happened, to my family. And I hope that in time to come it will mean something to my grandchildren and other people who are related to us. Now, for the rest of you who might be listening who have things written that you are proud of, you need to think about doing an audio. You say, well, nobody would be interested in reading it or hearing it. I don't know that anybody will be interested in what I have talked about. All I can tell you is it was important to me at the time that I did it, and it is still important to me. I have 8 hours of audio recording. Now, that's a long amount of time. In summing it all up, I'd say just go for it.
Now, talk a little bit about how we did it, how we recorded this.
Well, now, we are both amateurs at this. My son Brooks, he's very savvy in terms of putting things together in words. He himself is a writer, and he's had a lot of experience. He's taught on the college level, and he has a lot of experience with people. He's been a screenwriter, and to him this is nothing brand new, but I do believe that the recording part might be a new experience for him. We sat down here with me in my recliner, and you could tell that I'm not a young person anymore, and I had this little speaker system attached to my gown, and I just read into it what I had written in my story. And as long as I had the energy to read, I would read, and he was very patient with me. I'd make mistakes, and I'd have to stop, and he'd start over again with me. But it can be done. Yes, I would encourage you to write what you have on your minds. Well, after we finally did get all of it recorded, then we went back and we started to cut and paste. He did all of that. All I did was say, I want you to take out this part, and I'd like to say this. Well, we made a lot of corrections. And after it's all said and done, it's a story, it's a work in progress. I made a lot of corrections because I made a lot of mistakes. Life is really just making a whole lot of mistakes, and we correct things. And once it's in audio, it can still be corrected if it's wrong. Now, the last part of what we did was his, with a generous heart such as he has, he bought me a a new computer. I had typed this story out on an older model, and it was one that he had used when he was in college. That shows you how old it was. So he brings this brand new computer into my living room, and he puts a new printer by it and turned on the lights, bought me a new chair to sit in, and says, "Now go to it, get with it." And after all of the shaking and trembling that I did, I decided this may amount to something. So I wrote a little outline of the story, and I plan to see that my family members get a copy of the outline. And I wind up by saying that my story is made up of accurate dates and accurate material as far as I can get it developed. I've used fictionalized dialogue to tell the story, but I've tried to make it interesting and as true to real life as I can possibly get it. And I thank you for listening to me.
Well, this is Brooks. And Mom had said something about it was a work in progress. Do you feel like this is a work in progress? Do you feel like that?
I feel as if it's finished at this point.
Right.
But I believe that it will encourage other people to do it. And hopefully other people will get interested in their own achievements as far as writing is concerned. Not everybody wants to write a family genealogy in a storybook form, but people may have poetry, they may have prose, something that they have enjoyed. The internet is free, and certainly it has to be supported by people with generous spirits in them to give every now and then, but it is free, and it's a way for your work to be out there. And once you start, you realize just how good it makes you feel. Now, I have worked all of my lifetime with people, and I've had a good life, but I feel as if this is one of the biggest accomplishments of my life, because it will be here after I'm gone, and people can tune in and listen to something that they haven't heard before, and it may be of interest to people who are blind or people who are physically handicapped, who just have to listen as they can.
How did you go about doing the research to write it?
I have an older brother who did a lot of genealogy, and he would just almost tire you out with his energy, because he wanted to just talk about family genealogy. He traveled a lot. He sacrificed a lot. And a lot of what he had in him and had in his books, I've been able to look at and pull together, and even going back to a greater distance than my brother. My mother and dad were people who were interested in wanting you to know how things really were, and they enjoyed talking to one another about things, about family history. So that's how I came to be interested. And Brooks, by the way, who is my son, he is so much like this older brother of mine that I tell him as long as he's living, my older brother won't be gone. And I see a lot of my dad in Brooks. It's something that has been put into him to want to record and to let people have a chance to show what interests them a whole lot.
Now, you are part of are you still part of the history organization?
I'm not active at this time because of my health.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had good health, I'd be there. I believe in the foundation of family, and I believe in showing pride in our family. This genealogical society that Brooks mentioned is the Johnson County Genealogical Society. It's been going on now for about 25 years. It's made up of people who are just people of all walks of life who like to meet and talk and listen to one another. Well, I got interested in it because I had written a little tale, and I thought that this little tale would be of interest to people, and I guess it was. I don't know. But I know that the Genealogical Society is connected with Johnson County. And the book I have written is called A Smatching of Shearboms.
And that's this book right here.
That's the book that I'm talking about, which has been read into audio. It's called A Smatching of Shearboms in Johnson County, Tunnel Hill, Illinois. And these people who meet in the Vienna, Illinois library once a month, they're there because they're interested in history of our region.
Now, why do you call it Christmas Tree Country? Because you have another story that you wrote before this one called Christmas Tree Country. Where'd that title come from?
I first of all wrote A Christmas Tree Country tale. It's purely fictional.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are real, but the story is all made up. The name Christmas Tree Country comes from the fact that my dad used to say that Johnson County was good for one thing, and that was the growing of Christmas trees. Now, he liked and loved Johnson County, but the terrain and such didn't necessarily match what my dad's life skills were in. My dad was a farmer. Now, he could raise cattle and livestock, and for generations our people have raised cattle and livestock and had small farms in Johnson County. But it's well known for its Christmas trees, and so, or for its cedar trees, I should say. So that's why I call it Christmas Tree Country.
Well, I guess we'll wrap it up with this here. Do you have any plans to write anything else?
Not at this time. Now, on this new computer with which I've been blessed, I plan to do some genealogical research. I'd like to be able to take that computer and take that printer and type out things for my grandchildren. I'd like for people to be able to go back and see where the family actually came from. My ancestors were from different parts of the country, and I haven't really sorted all of that out yet, but that's what I plan to do.
All right. Well, hey, this is Brooks Kohler. I want to end this recording now. I wanted to record my mother talking about this because this is something that I have wanted to do for a very long time. I wanted to record her reading her stories into audio. She mentioned that I write. I began recording my stories that I write in audio years and years and years ago. And having the opportunity to record her, talking about what it was like to record this, hopefully, as Mom said, other people out there will be encouraged to do something similar, because I attended grad school for history. I believe in history. I think it's important to document local history. And I look at this as a contribution that Mom has made, a contribution to Southern Illinois, a contribution to the world for anybody that would want to learn not just about how she grew up, where she grew up, the people that were in her life, but also to give people the courage to be able to do something similar, because I know a lot of the people out there, they write stories, they write poetry, they write different things, perhaps essays, and I just want people to know it seems difficult, but as Mom stated, she would sit in her chair, I would clip on a little microphone, and I would record her. Then I used some software to clean it up a little bit, to make it sound a little bit better, audio-wise, but other than that, she did all the work. She read, and I think that's amazing, because I like to hear when an author reads their own work. I think that's important. There's so many individuals out there from history that I would love to hear their voice. I would love to hear what they sound like. And every once in a while, in my research, I will stumble across a recording maybe made 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago of a writer that I admire. And it's still amazing to me when that happens. So I'm going to wrap up talking. And Mom, thank you for doing this.
Well, as long as I live, I hope that I can add to the world. And I feel as if this is something that will help me to add to the world. And thank you for doing this for me. And thank you for buying me that computer.
You're welcome.